Welcome to the Marie Manuchehri Podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to where energy meets the divine. Today, before I go to the phone lines, I would love to share information with you about eclipses because we have a lunar eclipse coming up on the 17th of September in Pisces. Now, eclipses are these really phenomenal, incredible opportunities that occur. They're astrological events about 4 to 6 times a year. They come in pairs. So sometimes we can squeak in a third pair. Sometimes it gets divided. So you get, 5 because the pair that's linked up with the 6th one isn't till the following year. So 4 to 6 times a year we get eclipses. So we're going to have this one on the 17th, and then we'll have one approximately 6 to 8 weeks later. And they're connected. Eclipses stay connected for probably about 2.5 years. They follow a particular theme. It can even be longer than that. And we're leaving a particular theme that we were in, and now we're moving into a new theme that we're moving into for the next few years. Pisces energy is very interesting. It's a very intuitive energy, but it also can be an energy that's kind of drowning in denial. So when you find out what sign the eclipse is in, you kind of want to investigate or research that sign because eclipses bring things to light. They are incredible opportunities where gateways open up in the universes, and you could have a profound new perception that drastically changes your life forever. Things can also be eclipsed out of your life, like you all of a sudden, especially with Pisces energy, maybe you decide to stop drinking. Maybe you thought you were drinking too much, or maybe you've been smoking for a while and you've decided to quit smoking. If you have these urges to quit things that are kind of addictive behaviors for you, especially during a Pisces eclipse, it will be very successful. So things could be eclipsed out of your life. And when they're eclipsed, they go away forever. These gateways that open up during eclipse time, when you walk through them, which could be a form of consciousness, a form of awareness during eclipse energy, which could be anywhere from a few weeks prior to the eclipse to even a year after the eclipse, but definitely within the first few months. Even the first few weeks are really the most intense periods of eclipse energy from my personal experience. Things can be eclipsed into your life. Something that you didn't know was going to happen could come running into your consciousness during an eclipse time that permanently changes your life forever. For the better, of course. So some people fear eclipses because, again, things can come into your life, things can go out of your life. But I think they are blessings. They are considered wild cards in astrology because something could easily change. Or in this case, with Piscean energy, where Pisces is a very mystical, highly intuitive sign, but it can also have rose-colored glasses on that particular energy. So it's a wonderful opportunity to wake up and see something very differently than you've ever seen before, which can radically change your life. Once you change your perception about something, wow. A weird phenomenon that can happen during Piscean energy, but I don't want you to get stuck on this weird phenomenon, is that people can leave their bodies during eclipse time. Hopefully it's people who were planning on leaving their bodies at that time. And I mean like people who've been really sick or having a really hard time, but it's not uncommon because a person can eclipse out of Earth. They can leave Earth and go on to another dimension. So since we're just about on the precipice of this eclipse, you may have already gotten some heads up over the last several weeks about what this eclipse is doing for you as an individual. And remember, the theme that we want to look at with this Piscean energy is denial. Are there things that you've been in denial about? Maybe you are a much better person than you've given yourself credit for. Maybe there are people in your life who really aren't the best for you. Maybe you finally get clear on a career path or on a natural gift and talent. Maybe you really realize that you love to travel and you don't want to just live in one place all of your life. It can be extremely powerful and rewarding to be aware, consciously aware, and looking around during eclipse time. Since it is a lunar eclipse, I would pay attention to the moon. I would absolutely pay attention to what's happening with the moon. I would find ways to look at it at night and meditate with it. Meditation is a perfect opportunity during eclipse time to get more knowledge and consciousness of what's going on for you, because it's a wild card in astrology. Wonderful and interesting things can fly into your life. Now, because this Piscean eclipse has a little bit of that denial energy in it, you may not like at first what you gain consciousness about, but if you sit with it instead of putting on those rose-colored glasses again, if you sit with it and get curious about it and wonder about it from a kind of a neutral place as much as possible, which is key when it comes to intuitive insights. Anyway, you have to get neutral to really see, hear, feel the intuitive messages that are coming across to you to really improve your life. I think that's critical. So if you can meditate with it, with this energy, especially around, I think it's Tuesday is the eclipse in Pisces, this lunar eclipse, you're going to get a lot of knowledge and you're going to be able to readjust your energy. So when people are in denial, what's really happening is they are blocking their power. So everyone's powerful. Everyone is a genius. Everyone's part of the divine. Everyone is naturally gifted and talented. So we all can get in denial about all kinds of things. I think the United States has been in denial for a long time that we need to rush all of our young kids from high school to college, even if kids don't know what they want to study. I don't think that's a great idea. I offered all my children to not go to college right away, but they did. Luckily, they all knew what they wanted to study, or eventually within a year, they all knew what they wanted to study. So that was okay. But a lot of American kids don't know what they want to study. And intuition in the States is highly expensive. So if parents can't afford to pay for their children's tuition, then kids graduate with huge, enormous debts. I think that's something that we've been in denial about. I think our kids should go off and travel. I think they should spend time figuring out what really brings them passion, live in different countries, go work for a while. We live a long time. So it's okay if young kids were to take some time off after high school, even just a year, and then go to college. I think they'll be a lot more in alignment with what would bring them personal joy, because a lot of young people wake up in their 30s and go, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I think this is something that we need to look at, and also let children know that they don't have to go to college to be successful. People can become entrepreneurs. I think university life is wonderful. I think it's a great opportunity for kids to have some independence and live in mostly safe parts of the country and have these wonderful experiences. But if they don't know what they want to do because university is so expensive, I think that Americans need to get out of denial and reevaluate what would be in the best interest for their family and their young people, rather than accumulating huge debt. So that's just one potential perspective, which is more of a large consciousness for a large population on Earth. And then everyone else has their own unique perceptions and denials that it would be in their best interest if they could take a peek at them, get curious about it, wonder, well, what would that mean? What if some of the kids in the US went to trade school and learned some trades and worked a while to get some more clarity about, do I want to work from home? Do I want to be a creator? Do I want to work in a large company? Do I want to move up the ladder? What do I want? And sometimes we don't know that until we're actually out in the working world. With this actual example as I'm giving, we don't know. One of the things I loved about nursing is I like to be active. When you work in a hospital, you basically have to run pretty much your entire shift. Even night shift is really busy. And it's a lot of physical work, lifting patients, helping them to the restroom, all kinds of things that you have to do as a nurse. So it was a good fit for me because I like to be doing things. I want to run around on a hospital floor. But a lot of times people don't know what it is that they want to do with their life until they're actually out in the world, tasting it, trying it on for size. So big eclipse coming up. I would pay attention to all the eclipse we're having this year. I'd make a little calendar. Oh, we've got an eclipse in Virgo. I don't know if we do or not. I only know about this one that's coming up in September, this month on Tuesday, the 17th in the US. But I would make a list of them and write down the characteristics of what sign the eclipse is in. And then I would take maybe 2 weeks before the eclipse and start meditating, get curious, become neutral. You don't want to be rigid. You don't want to be stubborn. You want to be flexible because consciousness is going to be something new. It's not going to be something that you already understand. It's a surprise. Eclipses are considered a surprise. That's why they're also called the wild card in astrology. It's not something that you thought was going to happen. And sometimes people think that eclipses are negative events, but becoming conscious of something does tend to seem negative. It's like, oh, I didn't know that about that person, or, oh, I didn't know that about my job, or, I didn't know that about investing, or I didn't know that about the weather in that part of the world. It is and can be a surprise, but it's actually there to benefit you, to help you, to assist you, to either make a different choice or change your perception about people in your life or your occupation so that you can move into a more fulfilling alignment that is authentic for you. Anyway, I think they're very, very powerful. I look forward to all of them every year, and they affect different astrological signs differently. So if you have strong energy in Pisces, then it could affect you more significantly than if someone doesn't have a lot of Piscean energy in their chart. But if you have a lot of water in your chart, because Pisces is a water sign, it will absolutely affect you. So very exciting. I'm excited for everyone. And I hope you all take the time to meditate and play with the moon. I like to sometimes get in my car and just drive to wherever I can see the moon. So clearly, just sit there and meditate in the evening with a cup of tea and talk to the moon because it's a really beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous planet. Okay, now I'm going to go to the phone lines and good luck with the eclipse.
Hi, Marie. This is Anne. What are your specific recommendations to help me overcome the chronic pain I've been dealing with? Also, if you feel it would be helpful, I would appreciate your insights into my mother's death. Thank you very much.
Hi, Anne. So I'm not really sure what you're concerned about regarding your mother's death because she said to me as you were speaking, I died. I died. Humans have, and I can't speak for all cultures, obviously I live in the US, but humans have a really hard time with death. We don't understand it. We don't get it. We don't talk about it. We don't really understand the transitions from one dimension to the next, but it was your mother's time to go and she crossed. That's what she's saying. I think your mom was a fairly direct person, fairly no nonsense, because as you were speaking, she goes, I died. It was my time to go. I died. I once, Anne, had a client whose father had passed away in a hospital. And he wasn't scheduled, like he wasn't scheduled to die according to the human perception. He was going in for a rather routine procedure that was really minor, and a whole bunch of weird things happened. And he died because of these things. And this client was just incredibly upset, obviously, very depressed about it, disappointed, wanted to sue the hospital. And as she told me this story, which was really, sometimes when doctors go in to do a procedure, and let's say someone's in their 80s, not that it has to be 80s, they could be younger than that. And if their body is kind of on the verge of not doing very well, or maybe moving into an immune issue, it's not the best time to have a procedure. But in reality, if a person's ready to go, which is going to be on their soul's perception, not their human perception, most humans are not aware of the fact that they're going to be leaving their bodies. They're not. But if the soul's ready to go, the soul's going to go, oh, they're going to do this bronchoscopy, which means to take a biopsy of the lung or somewhere in the upper GI tract, could be the esophagus. They're going to do this, this procedure, and our person's not going to do very well. Ooh, he could leave his body right now if he wants to. Does his soul want to leave? Yes. Okay, great. That means that the procedure's not going to go very well. The supporting staff is going to catch something that could have been an indicator that they need to go back in and do more surgery, or the person's going to get a terrible, infection, a nosocomial infection from the hospital that's going to end up taking their life because they don't have a strong immune system. So I'm seeing this story in my head of a real client interaction from years ago because your mother is sharing it with me. So she's just saying to you, I died. It was time to go. That's all that matters. It was time for me to go. You don't need to be worried about the other things or the things that you've been concerned about that occurred around in her death. Chronic pain is about repressed emotional pain. So crying more, throwing pillows, having a few temper tantrums, just get out some trapped emotions out of your body would be really significant for you. And a lot of people who get chronic type of immune issues, their mitochondria, which is part of the cells, are sleeping and they need to be active because they help eat toxins and they're in all the cells. Mitochondria are in all the cells. So near infrared and red light therapy tend to be very effective for feeding the mitochondria. So I would recommend that. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Jessica from Wyoming. I just had a question about my spirit guides and maybe my clairs. I was wondering if you could tell me which one or ones that I have and maybe how I can talk to and see my spirit guides myself. Thank you so very much. I love everything you do. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jessica. You are highly clairvoyant, which means you can see beyond the physical world. It means you could see your guides or departed loved ones or energy. You do need to meditate more or learn to be quiet. And people don't have to do it for like hours upon days, even just 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there, 15 minutes once a day of learning to quiet your mind so that when you start to have your energy elevated, because that's part of the process. When the energy is elevated, people have more opportunities to connect to the multisensory world because all of the multisensory world, their energy is highly elevated. So humans who are developing their intuition are learning to utilize it or want to. When they're happy, an opportunity may happen. Like you might see a color, something might glow, you might hear something that's multisensory. And if your energy is elevated, then you can hold on to it long enough so you can receive the information necessary. You can talk to your guides whenever you want to. Many will never leave your side. They are guiding you all the time, even if you can't hear them or see them or feel you. They have their own requirements for their job and they're very devoted and dedicated. So that's what I think. Quiet the mind, keep your energy elevated. And when the opportunity comes, pay attention to it. If you all of a sudden see a color or hear something different. When I'm walking, Charles, and I hear frogs, because I love frogs so much, and they can be very loud near my home, I definitely slow down my walking. I stop and close my eyes. I allow myself to be available to anything that might come in. It raises my frequency to listen to the frogs. So it's really not hard. It's just that most people will not take the time to be present, to be happy, and to be receptive. And that's what is required to utilize one's own natural intuitive abilities, which we all have. Everyone has natural intuitive abilities. I promise you.
Hi, Marie. My name's Susan. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'd like to ask you about these geometric shapes that I see at night, and also about colours that I see when I'm in different environments, and also around different people as well. So yeah, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll see all sorts of different geometric shapes, triangles, single-sided squares, mazes.
Yeah.
circles, and sometimes they're in 3D, sometimes 2D.
Yeah.
They're actually really quite beautiful and fascinating, and I love them. And I'll also see different colours in different environments. Just as an example, I might see, say, whenever I'm in nature, whether it's by the beach, on a bushwalk, it'll always be indigo in the centre, a circle of indigo. There'll be a bit of a gap, and then around that there'll be a circle around the indigo of a lighter green colour.
Yeah.
If I'm in a deep relaxation, if my parasympathetic system has kicked right in, I'll see a really pale light blue colour. Sometimes, if I'm in a very spiritual zone, I'll see this beautiful magenta colour. So that's sort of an example of the colours that I see. Sometimes, also my colours will do this thing. If I'm in a very, the colours will be quite dynamic sometimes too. So if I'm really in a very spiritual zone, the magenta will, it will be moving almost like as if it's going through a tunnel, but it's not. There'll be these like donutty circles that will be moving kind of forwards, so it'll be emulating a tunnel, which is really interesting. So I just wanted your thoughts around those. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Marie. I love your show as well. I always gain a lot of insight whenever I'm listening to that, so I really appreciate that as well. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Susan. The geometric shapes are, you're waking up in the middle of the night or you're falling off to sleep and you're beginning to see these. This is your third eye getting comfortable with the multisensory world. It's not so much the third eye is getting comfortable in a way. It's just like a lot of people don't use their third eye. It's like babies who are born don't have all their cones and rods fully developed. And so they see black and white for a while before they start to see color, as their brain and their eyes start to create all the necessary function for them to have sight here in the physical realm. So your third eye is kind of creating its cones and rods so that you can have things beyond geometric shapes, which geometric shapes are beautiful. I've seen them myself, especially in the beginning of my psychic opening. So what I would do is not try to figure out those shapes. I would just stay in the beauty of them when you start to see those shapes. Just be curious, be playful with it, because that's going to help your third eye adjust or allow your personality to allow the impressions to come in that your body wants to receive, that your awareness wants to gain consciousness with. I always think of the colors like the chakras. So magenta is not the most common color seen in reference to the seventh vortex, the seventh chakra, but it is the second color. So some people see white, as I do. Some people see magenta when they're hanging out with the seventh vortex. Indigo, when you're out in nature, you become more psychic, more intuitive. And green is the highest healing color there is on earth. It's the color of the heart chakra as well. So when you are out in the bush or at the beach and you start to see colors, raise your vibration. The universe is working very hard to help you recognize that you're multisensory, and it's something you want to experience full-time or even professionally. So raise your vibration when it happens. Some humans lower their vibration when they start to have psychic impressions because they get scared, which we don't know why people get scared. It's just some weird thing because there's no logical reason for it, because insight is incredibly helpful. It's beneficial for humanity. It's normal. It's more authentic than the logical mind. It's very loving. It's a very caring, loving energy. And it's always surprising, which I find fun. I find that super, super, super fun. Yeah. Okay. I hope that's helpful.
Hello, Marie. My name is Zvonimira. I'm from Croatia, but I live in Sweden. I would just like to know some insights from my spirit guides regarding my life and my work, and on which areas I should work more. I had a rough journey last 3 years with moving around and inside my family, especially with my mother. I work as a massage therapist and it gives me great joy, but I also found myself curious about past life regression sessions also. Thank you very much for your service and your amazing energy. It is really inspirational. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm so happy that these podcasts are helpful to whoever finds them to be so. I would love it when you're doing massage if you start to get curious about energy, if you haven't already. I think you have natural, intuitive healing abilities. This is why you're interested in past lives, because past lives can be incredibly healing. I'm going to be teaching a advanced healing course for the Shift Network beginning October 7th. I'll be sending things out through my newsletter this coming week. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, whoever's listening and wants to, just go to energyintuitive.com and you can sign up for the newsletter. And in that, it's a 20-week course. It's very long. In one of the modules in that course, we're going to talk about past lives and how we can help people resolve past lives. It's actually, I think, very, very simple personally, so that the hologram of that lifetime can shift and have a different experience that the soul chooses, so that all those lifetimes from that hologram lifetime to the present can be adjusted to a different outcome. Souls tend to hold on to their previous lifetimes because, especially when you come to Earth, we forget about past lives. We don't remember reincarnation, typically, especially after the age of 7. If young people do remember, their parents usually tell them that didn't happen, things of that nature. And whatever we're working on in this lifetime is a reflection of past lives. We're really working on a past life, not this current lifetime. We will work on this current lifetime in a future lifetime. And it doesn't have to be on Earth. We don't have to always stay in the same dimension to heal anything. We can heal anything in any dimensional reality that we wish to occupy. It doesn't have to be physical like Earth. So I think it's great that you want to study past lives. I think you have natural, energetic healing abilities. I bet your patients or your clients have already told you that. So pay attention to the energy, which means, in a way, when your hands are on someone's body as you're massaging them, allow yourself to kind of detach. You already know how to massage. I'm sure you could do it with your eyes closed. And maybe you do sometimes, because energy healers sometimes close their eyes when they work, because we're trying to block out the third dimensional space so that we can move into other dimensions. So try to look past your hand into the tissues. And it doesn't have to be a seeing thing. It could be a feeling thing. It could be a knowing thing, which is more important. All professional intuitives simply want to know. We don't care how the information comes to us. We just want to know. So detach a little bit, go deeper with your awareness, with your third eye, if you will, and allow yourself to experience the energy. I think that'll be very fun for you. Okay.
I would like to know if we have depression running in our family and I take antidepressants, does that change the fact that I'm being my authentic self? Am I being my authentic self if I take medication for depression or anxiety? Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. It's a really good question. We have too many people on antidepressants in the US. I don't even think it works very well. I can't speak for other countries, or unless everyone's using the same antidepressants throughout the world. But I don't think they work. That's why they layer them. They layer antidepressants because they don't really work. Most people are depressed or have anxiety from overthinking and analyzing. So that could be what really runs in your family, not a history of depression, but a history of overthinking, analyzing, and processing what I consider useless information that allows people to become detached from their authentic emotions, and then they get attached to mind-made emotions. Real emotions don't have a lot of depression in them. They're compassionate, They're kind, they're surprising. People can certainly be authentically sad, but even authentic sadness is empowering. It's cool. It's interesting. Depression comes from the mind, overthinking, analyzing, and processing. So try to look at it that way. And I would use a what if question. What if I'm letting go of my mind and I'm finding my authentic joy? Back to your question, all medications that we take consistently, unless they are naturally derived, like supplements, which are processed out of the body really well, can limit our authentic emotions, our intuition. It's almost like a little bit of a gray cloud comes into the auric field and kind of filters in an unhealthy way our intuitive information or even our authentic emotions. But I'm not saying get off your antidepressants tomorrow. That's something that people have to look at and work with their doctor or their naturopath or whomever is their practitioner about healthy ways to replace that or healthy moments to move out of depression. So most depression is mind-made. It is not authentic. I hope that helps you, which I find that super interesting, by the way. I find that really, really interesting.
Hi, Marie. My name is Felicia, and I'm in Baltimore. I was listening to one of your interviews, and you mentioned that protection, you didn't like the word protection, and that we establish a natural type of protection when we operate from heightened vibrations or heightened states like happiness or joy, and that by operating from those high vibrational states, we create a larger auric field, and that in itself is protective.
Yes.
However, I'm wondering, as someone who suffers from PMDD, and which can look like going like 2 weeks out of the month that look like clinical depression or anxiety, how do those of us navigate that so that in the times when we are actively journeying with something that is not necessarily, or that isn't chosen, and that is like either a neurological condition or a mental health condition or a hormonal condition, how do we navigate that barrier to always be in high vibrational states? I find that a lot of people talk about the need to be in high vibrational states in order to communicate with loved ones who have transitioned, in order to access like spirit guides and benevolent forces and things of that nature. But how do we establish that type of communication when we have this barrier of mental health? What does that look like? And I feel like a lot of times that's not addressed, because that, and just naturally for a person who deals with something that impairs their ability to just, engage in joy and happiness and to embody those vibrations, it's harder to access higher states of communication and also extend the auric field and have that sense of protection and not be vulnerable to other forces that are on that low vibrational state or wavelength. So I just wonder what advice you have for that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's a big question, Felicia. Big question. I think a great what if question for you could be, what if I let go of historical belief systems that I've had about myself and my body? Because it's almost like someone fed you this, in your family line, like, we got this history, we've got stuff going on, or some medical professional told you something early on and you bought it hook, line, and sinker. And I don't mean to say that to ignore everything that's happened or to think that it's wrong, but I'm asking you to question it, to become curious of a different reality. a lot of people vibrate in historical family drama that has literally nothing to do with them. And a lot of people even want to fix their family drama, which nobody can. Every soul is responsible for healing their own paradigm, not their ancient relatives. It's not necessary. So that's what I feel is this really old kind of ancestral hook that you have from stories you were told for long periods of time. And I think you need to let go of those. And it's okay. I mean, we're not going to be super high vibrational all the time, but I do think we need to recognize when we aren't and when we are and make different choices. You know, if watching television lowers someone's vibration and they went, oh, I've been watching TV for a while. Huh. Yeah, my vibration's not very high. Oh, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go cut some plants. I'm going to, you know, go do something that brings me joy. I think we just have to be aware and make different choices. But I think yours is you got hooked in to some story that you have believed for a very long period of time. And now I think it's time to be creative about that story and unhook yourself from it and see what happens. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Marie. It's Jodi from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My question today is this. I know there are many guides helping me in this lifetime. I show up every day in the space of mostly supporting energetically souls that are grieving. These individuals have had some tremendous grief. They're in my circle, so it's not something I do as a job. However, it seems as if our souls obviously have created the contracts to be in each other's space in order for me to do this.
No.
My question then, sorry, there was a bit of my background, but is there something that I'm missing right now that would assist me in doing this type of work in a greater capacity? Again, thank you for your time and for the energies and the loveliness. I mean, I love your words in your podcasts. I am so happy to have found you, and thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome, Jodi. Thank you. I know you've heard me say many times that individuals need to discover what brings them joy. I don't think that taking care of other people is enough of the joy factor, especially for old souls. Well, you're an old soul, Jodi. You've taken care of many, many people over many, many centuries. And now you're doing it for free on a difficult population of individuals who when I look at it, the people that have surrounded you, they are stealing your energy and you're letting them. I just see this, this sucking of your life force. Because these people don't always listen to you. They don't follow your advice and they keep coming back and you keep letting them drink from the well of your lovely, lovely energy. So if it's something you want to do professionally because it brings you joy, then that's something to consider. But I actually don't think it does. I think this is an old pattern of yours of people pleasing and wanting to be a good person and not leave anyone out. Younger souls are the beings who actually are fed energetically by learning more about compassion. Older souls need to focus on self-compassion. And that's why a career where you would be helping people as a grief counselor or someone of that nature, it would be great for you if it brought you personal joy first and foremost, which I don't think that the true factor of bringing joy is helping others. For old souls, I think it's something else. Like I love to read energy. I love to look at people who've crossed over. I love that aspect. The fact that it helps people makes me happy. But if I'm doing something just to help other people, I'm going to feel drained. I'm going to feel exhausted. That's why in my career, I have assistants who do certain things for me that I have determined my energy doesn't like. Like I don't really like to answer emails. It drains my energy. So it's not in my best interest. So I have an assistant who answers the majority of my emails. So this is something you need to look at because there's confusion here because you feel called to do this. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean it's in your best interest. And I think you need to do some self-discovery of personal joy. I'm not saying you can't have a career where you work with people who are in grief, but there needs to be something magical about it and very, very special and unique that lights your soul on fire. Not the fact that you know how to hold people's hands and to hold a space for them so that they can feel safe with you to express their emotions. When I see the people around you again, all I see is this big energetic suck. So that's my answer. That'll be interesting for you to take a peek at and reevaluate. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. My name is Stacey, and I'm from Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Thank you for what you do. I was calling to ask a question about my son, Harrison. He's 10 years old, and he is just a wonderful little boy. But he's having a problem with feeling when he needs to go to the bathroom, and that's both peeing and pooping. And we have done everything that we can think of, from physical therapy to occupational therapy to acupuncture, chiropractors, even craniosacral massage. We even had tethered cord surgery in October. But he still is not regaining any feeling, which I don't know if he ever will. But I was calling to see if you had any ideas. My last kind of thought is maybe a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
No.
But I wanted to get your opinion on if you had any ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stacey, for asking the question. I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry that your son's been going through this. First and foremost, Mom, you need to learn to let go because you're not good at this. And I love that you love your child so much. You would do anything to help him. And that's great. He's a very lucky kid. But he's here to teach you something. Remember, this is happening to you too in a way, because look how busy you have to be about it. You got to clean up things, take him to all these different practitioners. So this is about you too. And anything to do with children has everything to do with their parents most of the time, in my opinion. So I need you to let go of this first and foremost. You're not going to get the solution until you can learn to let go. And that means you stop hyper-focusing on it. You stop trying to fix this. You just relax for a little bit. Just relax. A lot of times people get solutions when they stop trying to figure it out. When we get into a position, any of us, no matter how conscious we are, and we're trying to figure something out, we're not most likely going to come to the solution. Real solutions are intuitive. They're creative. They're beautiful. They fly in. You get background, I should say, information about it. This is going to be about fear. Your son has a lot of fear in his body. It's from previous lifetimes. He's had lifetimes, and you don't have to share this with him. I wouldn't actually. He's had several lifetimes where he was tortured physically. And he's, he picked a wonderful lifetime to come to Earth, a beautiful family, lives in a great country where there isn't torture, regularly for anyone, thank goodness, most of the time. So this is fear that has to be eradicated from him. You taking him to all these different practitioners, and I can understand why you initially began this, but when things aren't working out, that means we have to stop doing what we're doing, and we have to recalibrate our energy. So letting go means when something happens that you're trying to fix regarding the situation, you're going to, what if I can just surrender and be okay with this moment? What if I can do that instead of, how do I fix this? But what I do think will work potentially, but I want you to work on letting go, because that's one of the reasons why this is happening. It's not just about him. It's about you too. It's called master muscle activation. So there are technicians who help people strengthen certain muscle groups in their body that are weak or problematic. I've used one for a while, and it's been quite significant in terms of some awarenesses I've had with my own physical form. So that's what I would recommend, but I want you to let go, because if you don't let go, that may not work. We need to get you to let go first. So they're called muscle activation practitioners. You want to look for someone who's considered a master. It means they've been doing it for a very long time, and they've worked with, famous athletes even around the world. And so they're very aware of the importance of our muscle movement and awareness of it and consciousness of our body and how it works. So I hope that helps. Just relax, let it go, so that he can let things go too appropriately, right? And let go some of his past life fear. I'm working on it a little bit. here in my office about it. I've seen it before with other people, not the symptoms that he's having in the physical realm, but certainly this fear that's deep in the body from being hurt in previous lifetimes. I'll tell a really quick story. This is for everyone who's listening. So, Stacey, it's not in any direct relationship to your son that I'm aware of. When the Mayans were around, a lot of pyramids were being built on Earth to support higher forms of consciousness. Like pyramids were created at one point to support the energy of Christ, but all kinds of different, mystical beings who come to Earth, they needed the support of energy that's created from pyramids. So obviously humans couldn't make these pyramids on their own. So extraterrestrials have helped over the centuries to bring energies that are needed for our own transformation, our own evolution. And the Mayans worked closely with extraterrestrials to create, the pyramids in their area. And so the Mayans had conscious interaction with beings from other planets, and it really grew their insight and their psychic ability. And so when the procedures of building pyramids was finished and the aliens left Earth for that time period, the Mayans were annoyed and frustrated because they had lost a lot of their psychic ability, because it was the energy of these other beings that brought the psychic energy to them. So they started to do a lot of psychic surgery in the Mayan, population with volunteers. But, they didn't have anesthesia in that time. This was a lot of brain surgery, trying to awaken the third eye. Didn't go over very well for humans in terms of suffering. So sometimes what happens in previous lifetimes has like an understanding. It's not just pure violence. It's just some, weird way that humans thought that they could achieve something that they experienced for a period of time for unusual reasons. Thank you everyone for listening. Happy eclipse. May you be enlightened of something that transforms your life rapidly and beautifully and powerfully. This is about you gaining your power. Power is not what we have determined that it is on Earth. Power is compassion, it's kind, it's huge awareness, but it's also about manifesting and being in alignment with your authentic self. That's what true power is about. Joyful blessings. Bye-bye for now.